Younger me, if I could sit you down right now, there's something I'd tell you that would change everything. But I know you wouldn't believe me yet, because right now, you think you have all the time in the world. You believe life is a straight road, stretching endlessly ahead. You think success, happiness, and meaning are waiting for you, just a little further down the path. But here's the truth, that road isn't endless. One day, sooner than you expect, you'll wake up and realize you're no longer chasing the future. You're living in it. And when that day comes, the things you thought would make you happy won't matter as much. The things you feared losing won't feel so important anymore. And the biggest question you'll face won't be about what's ahead, but about who you've become. Younger me, I've brought some friends with me today. Great minds who understood things most never do. Carl Jung, who uncovered the parts of ourselves we hide away. Abraham Maslow, who redefined what success truly means. Viktor Frankl, who showed us that meaning isn't given, it's chosen. Sarin Card, who taught us that fear isn't the enemy, but the gateway to freedom. Carl Rogers, who reminded us the life we're living may not be the one we're meant for. And Alfred Adler, who believed we're not prisoners of our past, but the authors of our future. They have something important to tell you, younger me. Something that will change everything. Midlife isn't a crisis, it's an awakening. Your real life, the one that's truly yours, hasn't even begun yet. You've spent so long trying to be the right kind of person, the one who fits in, who earns respect, who makes others proud. For years, you convinced yourself this version of you, the one the world sees, is all there is. But listen carefully now, because Carl Jung is here to tell you the truth. You are not just the face you show the world. You are also everything you've hidden away, the doubts, the anger, the secret ambitions you were too afraid to chase, the sadness you swallowed and never spoke aloud. Younger me, the part of yourself you tried to bury, it wasn't gone. Those feelings, those doubts, those fears, they didn't disappear. They became your shadow. And as long as you refuse to look at it, that shadow will quietly shape your life, controlling you from the edges. Carl Jung spent his life studying why so many of us feel lost. And he found that most people live as only half themselves. We wear masks, we play roles, we become whoever we need to be just to feel safe. For a time, younger me, that can work. But then cracks start to appear. The mask begins to slip. You begin to realize that the life you built, it's not bad, but it's incomplete. Midlife is when the shadow comes knocking. It doesn't ask for permission. It forces you to look at yourself. Not the polished version you show the world, but the real you, the whole you. And yes, younger me, that can be terrifying. Because to accept yourself fully means facing the parts you've tried to hide. So what happens if you ignore the shadow? If you pretend it's not there, that's when it starts ruling you from the darkness, twisting your deepest desires into addictions, turning your silent fears into anger at the world, making you resent others for what you refuse to face inside yourself. This is why so many people in midlife feel lost, bitter, or restless, because they're fighting an enemy inside them, an enemy they refuse to see. But here's the secret Jung wanted you to know. The shadow is not your enemy. It's the missing part of your heart. And if you have the courage to turn toward it, instead of running away, you'll find everything you've been searching for was hidden there all along. So how do you start? It begins with honesty. Stop filtering your thoughts just to feel acceptable. Notice what triggers you in others. Those are often the parts of yourself you've buried deep. Write down the things you avoid thinking about. Face them, question them, try to understand them, and slowly you'll begin to feel whole. Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." But he also said, it is the most liberating, because the moment you stop fighting yourself, you realize you were never broken. You were simply unfinished. And now, at last, you have the chance to become whole. Younger me, the people who achieve the most, they're not always the ones with the biggest titles or the loudest applause. They're the ones who become the most, who grow beyond what they once thought was enough. You've spent years climbing, chasing promotions, seeking approval, building a reputation. And for a long time, younger me, that felt like enough. But I need to gently warn you, one day you'll wake up and all of it might feel strangely hollow. Not because you've done something wrong, but because something inside you is calling you to more. Maslow's hierarchy of needs explains this perfectly. In the beginning, we seek security, stability, and belonging. We work hard to build a foundation that feels solid beneath our feet, and that's good, necessary even. But then comes a moment when the foundation is set, and a new question quietly rises. Now what? That moment, younger me, is the beginning of what Maslow called self-actualization. It's when the things that once drove you start to lose their meaning, and you realize success isn't about what you have. It's about who you are. But what does that look like? It's different for everyone. For some, it means leaving behind a career that no longer fits their values. For others, it means embracing creativity, connection, or personal growth instead of chasing external rewards. It's about shifting from seeking achievement to seeking meaning. Here's the thing Maslow didn't say outright. Most people never make it to self-actualization. They get stuck in the earlier stages, trapped by comfort, fear, or routine. How do you know if that's happening to you? Ask yourself, are you still chasing success, or are you living in a way that feels truly fulfilling? If your answer is the former, it might be time to rethink everything. This is why so many people in their 40s feel lost. Not because they failed, but because they're waking up to a deeper call for meaning, for purpose, for something real. It's not that you've done anything wrong, younger me. It's that something deeper is calling you to stop proving and start becoming, to stop chasing and start choosing. And here's the beautiful irony. The moment you stop obsessing over success is the moment you finally find it. Not in money, not in status, but in the quiet, steady certainty that you are finally living the life you were meant to live. Younger me, you've spent years believing happiness is something you catch. If you work hard enough, earn enough, love the right person, live in the right place, then maybe, just maybe, you'll have arrived. For a while, it felt like you were getting closer, but something inside never quite settled. No matter how much you achieved, there was always that quiet, nagging voice whispering, "Is this it?" Let me introduce you to Viktor Frankl, a man who endured the unimaginable, surviving Nazi concentration camps, stripped of everything, his family, his career, his freedom. And yet, even in the middle of that horror, he made a discovery that changed how we understand the human experience. Happiness, younger me, isn't something you chase. Frankl showed us it's something that emerges when you live with meaning. He saw people in those camps, despite their suffering, holding on to something that kept them going, a purpose, a reason to wake up the next day. And he realized the ones who survived weren't always the strongest physically, but those who had found something worth surviving for. Younger me, you've spent so much time chasing happiness, but maybe you've been looking in the wrong places. The job, the recognition, the things you own, none of it will ever be enough. Because happiness isn't something you get, it's something you allow, when your life aligns with a deeper sense of purpose. So what does that mean for you right now? How do you create meaning when you feel stuck in a life that seems empty or directionless? Frankl found that meaning comes in 3 ways: through work, through love, and through suffering. First, meaning through work. Not just a job, but a calling. doing something that serves a purpose greater than yourself. It doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It can be raising a child, building a community, or simply showing up with intention each day. Meaning also comes through creating something that outlives you. It's about contribution, leaving a legacy beyond yourself. Second, meaning comes through love. Not just romantic love, but the kind that makes life rich. Deep friendships, kindness, shared moments with people who truly see you. If you don't have anyone in your life who really knows you, younger me, then you haven't fully begun to live yet. And third, meaning comes through suffering. This is the hardest to understand, but also the most powerful. Because pain will come to you. It always does. When it does, you have a choice. You can let it break you, or you can let it transform you. Some of the most purpose-driven people in history turned their deepest suffering into their greatest mission. Survivors who became healers, the lost, who became guides for others. Viktor Frankl said it best. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Younger me, if you ever feel like life has lost its meaning, ask yourself these 3 questions. What are you creating? Who are you loving? What suffering are you transforming? Answer those, and you will never feel lost again. I know how much you fear change, how you overthink, hesitate, weigh every possibility before making a move, how you cling to the familiar, telling yourself, one day, when I'm ready, I'll take the risk. But you never really feel ready, do you? Søren Kierkegaard called this fear the dizziness of freedom, that terrifying moment when you realize your life is completely in your own hands. No script, no guarantees, just you, standing at the edge of the unknown, paralyzed by what might happen if you jump. But Kierkegaard also knew this. Fear isn't your enemy. It's the threshold, and the only way to step into the life you were meant to live is to embrace it. Younger me, hear this clearly. You will never feel completely ready, and if you wait until you do, you will wait forever. That doesn't mean every fear should be ignored. So how do you know when it's time to take that leap? The leap. Kierkegaard believed there's a difference between fear that warns us of danger and fear that signals growth. The first kind is instinctual. If a fire is burning, you don't walk into it. But the second kind is different. It shows up when you're standing on the edge of something new, something that calls to you even though it terrifies you. That's the fear you need to move toward. Think about those dreams you've always held but never dared to chase. That job you secretly imagine doing, that place you long to live, or the part of yourself you keep hidden because you're afraid of what others might think. The only thing standing between you and that life is the fear of the unknown. Kierkegaard's leap of faith wasn't just about risk. It was about trust. Trust in something you can't yet prove. For some, that's faith in God. For others, it's faith in themselves. But at its core, the leap is about choosing to believe that the life you are meant to live is waiting for you on the other side of fear, even when you have no proof yet. One day, younger me, you'll reach a moment when staying the same feels more painful than the risk of change. You'll stand on the edge of something new, heart-pounding, stomach-twisting, wondering if you can really do it. And when that moment comes, I need you to remember this. Fear is not a signal to stop. It's a sign you're on the verge of something extraordinary. So how do you take the leap? First, recognize when you're facing a moment of transformation. If a decision excites you and terrifies you equally, pay close attention. That's your cue. Second, don't wait for certainty. It will never arrive fully. Start before you feel ready. And third, remind yourself, the greatest mistake you can make is doing nothing at all. Kierkegaard warned, to dare is to lose one's footing momentarily. Not to dare is to lose oneself. The leap will always feel impossible until the moment you take it. And then, younger me, you'll realize you were always meant to fly. Younger me, you've spent so much of your life trying to be the version of yourself that makes others comfortable. You've played roles, said the right things, worn the masks that fit. For a while, you even convinced yourself that this was who you really were. But let me ask you, when was the last time you felt truly free? Carl Rogers spent his career studying what makes a life feel real, and he found something most people never realize. The further you stray from your authentic self, the more lost you become. Younger me, I have to ask you something difficult, but necessary. If you stripped away the expectations, the pressure, what would be left? Fear can feel like a heavy shadow. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, who would you be without it? I know that question scares you, because for years you've built a life that looks right on the outside, but never quite feels right inside. You've followed a path that made sense on paper, but deep down something just isn't clicking. You keep waiting, thinking maybe if you work harder, achieve more, prove yourself enough, you'll finally feel whole. But here's the truth. It's not about doing more. The problem isn't what you haven't done. The problem is that you aren't being yourself. Carl Rogers called this congruence, when the person you are inside finally matches the life you live outside. And younger me, here's the real truth. That's the only way you'll ever feel free. But what if you don't even know who you really are? What if you've spent so long being who others expect that you've lost touch with yourself? Rogers had an answer for that too. The first step is to stop censoring yourself. Notice the moments when you change your words, your tone, your opinions just to fit in. Ask yourself, if I wasn't afraid of judgment, what would I say? The second step is to pay attention to what excites you, the things that pull at you, even if they don't make sense yet. That's your real self trying to get your attention. And third, practice radical self-acceptance. Rogers believed true growth begins when you stop trying to fix yourself and start understanding that you were never broken in the first place. One day, younger me, you'll reach a point where pretending becomes exhausting. Saying yes to things you don't want. Showing up where you don't belong. Living a life that just doesn't fit anymore. When that day comes, I hope you remember what Rogers said. The good life is a process, not a destination. And that process begins the moment you stop pretending. Younger me, the biggest lie you ever believed is that your past defines you. That the mistakes, the regrets, the people who told you who you were. That all of it carved a path you can't escape. Alfred Adler would tell you otherwise. He spent his life studying why people get stuck in cycles of unhappiness. And he found it's not what happened to them that traps them. It's the story they tell themselves about what happened. Younger me, if you believe you are a failure, you will act like one. If you believe you're unworthy, you'll settle for less than you deserve. But here's the secret. Those stories aren't set in stone. You have the power to rewrite them. If you believe you don't deserve better, if you believe you're destined to stay stuck, you won't move forward. But what if? Just what if that story isn't true? Adler understood something powerful. At any moment, you can rewrite your own story. You are not a victim of your past. You are not defined by your mistakes. You are not limited by who you once were. Right now, you are as free as you choose to be. I know what you're thinking. It's not that simple. What if your past is filled with real pain, real failure? What if changing your story feels like lying to yourself? Adler's answer was this. Your past is fact, but the meaning you give it, that's your choice. Yes, hard things happened. Yes, you made mistakes. But do those things define you? Only if you decide they do. The past is just a series of events. What gives them power over you is the story you tell yourself about them. So how do you change that story? Start by challenging it. Write down the beliefs you hold about yourself. I always fail. I'm not good enough. I'll never be happy. Now ask yourself, is this objectively true, or is it just something you've repeated so many times that you believe it? Next, look for proof of the opposite. Find even one moment when you succeeded, when you showed strength, when you overcame. Then, begin to act as if your new story is already true. If you believed you were capable, how would you behave? If you believed you were worthy, what would you say yes to? What would you finally walk away from? One day, younger me, you'll realize your past is just a place of reference, not a place to live. The pen has always been in your hand. And the moment you decide to write a different story for yourself, that's the moment your life truly begins. So here we are, younger me. You spent years thinking midlife was something to fear, that turning 40 meant time was running out. But now you know the truth. This is not the end. This is the beginning. Jung taught you that you are not broken, only unfinished. Maslow showed you that success isn't about what you have. It's about who you become. Frankl proved meaning isn't given, it's chosen. Kierkegaard reminded you that fear isn't a sign to stop, it's a sign to leap. Rogers showed you that the moment you stop pretending is the moment you start truly living. And Adler handed you the pen, inviting you to rewrite your story. Younger me, you are no longer chasing a life. You are stepping into it. And you, finally, are ready.